Now, for more analysis, we have Akin Fatuke, business analyst and chartered accountant, joining us virtually. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Fatuke. All right, looks like we're not able to establish a connection with Akin Fatuke there, but of course we would be looking at these stories in details, dissecting all of the issues involved. But we'll take a break now. When we come back, we would be speaking with Akin Fatuke. We'll be right back. Well, let's now delve into the conversations, looking at the top business stories, and Akin Fatuke is with us virtually. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Fatuke. Oh, okay. Yes, let's begin with this story coming from the CBN, saying that the RT200 program generated $1.2 billion from repatriations at the end of the third quarter of 2022. Of course, this is shooting beyond the goal that they had for the $200 million repatriation of funds. Of course, we're looking at this story coming from the CBN talking about their RT200 policy. The bank has said that they are working hard to drive the deployment of its national domestic card scheme, and this is to support micropayments and credit. But of course, let's look at the forces or the factors driving this growth. Thank you for joining us again, Mr. Fatuke.
Yes, I can hear you very well.
All right, please go ahead.
And I was making the point that if the road to $200 billion is already returning in trillions, maybe at real time, that's good news, good to hear. I just want to look at the fundamentals that supports this. Is diametrically opposed to some of the news we are getting, not from Central Bank itself, but from Federal Ministry of Finance and from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. If non-oil revenues have not significantly improved compared to the target that has been set, there's something therefore must be happening that perhaps we need to get ourselves to know. But I know for sure that value addition is increasing. I agree. The local content, to look at our local production and package them for exports, is still on the right drive, and then the move to just make sure that FX exposure is minimized as possible. I am not sure we have gone out of those shocks now. If the money that is supposed to be coming into the country is also contingent upon what is happening in the ecosystem, here I'm talking about the inflation that is going around, the Russian-Ukraine war. We are not able to sell our crude to the international market at a level and quantum that we should because of theft. And basically because of the fact that ease of doing business is still not a top notch. If you ask
let's wrap up on that story quickly, Mr. Fatuke, so we can delve into all the stories.
Okay, so on account of that, yes, I like it to be audited independently. But kudos to CBN, kudos to Nigeria if this trend is going to continue. We're talking about the first quarter. Let's see what happens in the second quarter. I wish us well as we move in that trajectory.
All right, let's talk about this story coming from the International Monetary Fund, saying that Nigeria and other countries in sub-Saharan African region risk social and political instability and worsening food insecurity because of rising inflation. And of course, that's as regards the recent inflation figure, which was put at 20.7%. How do you react to this? Mr. Fatuke?
I can hear you.
Yes, let's talk about this alarm raised by the IMF, talking about the inflation figure in Africa, saying that it is going to affect economic activities. We know that is already happening, but the IMF is now pointing attention in that direction.
Well, yeah. Well, you said an alarm is an alarm to neophytes. Certainly not an alarm to people who have seen the trend of things, even when we were not expecting some of the big shocks that we have. One, we are being stolen blind by way of our capacity to export our crude and meeting the OPEC quota. Secondly, inflation at 20.77%, highest in very recent millennium of history of Nigeria. Also, it's happening out there, both in the UK, Britain, and other parts of the world, in fact, unprecedentedly. Whereas theirs are being controlled by ways, means, policy directions that are in convergence to making sure that they take their people out of poverty. The Nigerian situation is not following that trajectory. Unemployment is high, extremely very high, out of school children, and drug addiction, people who are roaming the wilds, the Yahoo are taking all over. By the time you compute that and put that on high inflation, you get what you call a mystery index. That mystery index is an indication that anybody that is facing that on a long-term basis might be looking at the big, what we all want to run away from, but I dare say it's a failed system. It's a failed state. Okay. And so unrest will have to continue, and then we are beginning to see pockets of them. We see people voting with their legs, are professionals, educational system is low, what have you. Real alarm. We have been sounding this for more than decades. Hopefully, we'll be able to get our acts together, review and refocus and rebalance our commanding heights, exchange rates, our capacity to produce, the flood that is ravaging the countryside, food inflation.
Mr. Fatuke, let's quickly touch on this story, talking about Nigerians spending 2.18 trillion naira on electronic bills such as power, pay TV, and other utilities in the first 9 months of 2022. That's a 30.84% increase from the 1.67 trillion naira that was spent in the corresponding period of 2021. This sounds like good news, doesn't it?
As in everything, economics depends on what side you belong. Yeah, I would say it's good news. It's good news from the fact that the Purchasing Managers Index, which is an aggregate measure of the logistics and things that are supposed to help boost GDP and the economy and the consumption side, is saying kudos. From services, from Nollywood, from the creative industries, kudos. The only challenge I may have, which is in the drill down, is that if utility bills, if the daily billing transactions that we are getting, the reconciliation that we are getting, the fintech A1 that is coming the way of Nigeria, these are very good and positive news. So we talk about our bills, we talk about our levies, we talk about our fees, we talk about premiums, and we talk about subscription. The only thing is, if we are paying and is staying in-house in our economy and we're using that to generate employment, super. But if we are paying and then it's more of effects flowing outside our country and we are not even able to meet obligations, whether you're talking about the aviation sector and our manner of consumption, then we say, look, still a bit of a long road to trek. But all things being equal, the accountant in me says, what can be cheap? I like to see it measured. I give kudos to our fintech. I give kudos to the technology aspect, not supported by the backbone of the energy that we expect to see. The diesel cost is running all high, and so the kind of levies that comes to the final consumer who himself or herself has been taken out of the value chain in terms of his or her capacity to be able to make effective demand.
All right. Mr. Fatake, we have to leave it here.
Very high level. I think let's sustain it. Let's see how we can go back to the villages, to your mom and your grandmom's place in the village. Let's open up the space to just make sure that we remain producing locally, backward linkage, and penetration to the hinterland.
All right, Mr. Fatuke, we have to leave the conversation here. Thank you so much for your time on Business Breakfast.
Thank you very much, and please remain safe. Nigeria, sun shall rise again.
Enjoy your weekend. Well, the Nigerian Exchange Limited closed in positive territory on Thursday after it traded higher by 0.03% on renewed bargain hunting. We'll take a closer look at the sentiment behind this new rally in a moment. We'll be right back.